Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our webinar series, A Scoop of Advice Focusing on Bullying Prevention. Our presenters today, Donna and Corinne, both work at the LGBTQ Center at Kenneth Young Center and have great resources and tools for you in this topic. The webinar is being recorded and the video and handouts will be available on our website at cpydcoalition.org. So welcome, Donna and Corinne. Take it away.
Thanks, Rosa. Thank you so much for having us. It's so good to be here with you, and we're super passionate about this topic and this theme and just helping the community. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Rosa.
Yes. So as Rosa said, my name is Donna. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the LGBTQ Center project lead over at Kenneth Young Center. And so at the LGBTQ Center, we really focus on creating a safe and welcoming environment for LGBTQ youth in our area. And we have a slew of programming for middle schoolers, high schoolers, young adults, as well as parents and families of LGBTQ people. And I work very closely with my partner, Karina, over here.
Hi, my name is Kitty Ramirez, and I am at Kenneth Young Center as well. I am part of the Community Youth Service Grant, and I'm a project associate. So we provide, at Kenneth Young Center, we provide many outreach programs and many different resources for all age groups, anywhere from toddlers to senior citizens. Some of our resources are mental health, some of the elder population health resources, prevention resources, LGBTQ plus community center, and we also have substance use and recovery resources for everybody.
Right on. And we thought we would get started with this Scoop of Advice series with a little baby icebreaker, if you all wouldn't mind. No worries if you don't want to participate, that's totally cool. But keeping it along with our ice cream theme, and since it is about dinner time, we thought we'd ask the question, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? If you could say your name and favorite flavor of ice cream, or if you hate ice cream, go for your favorite dessert. And I'll just start real quick. I'm Donna again, and I'm vegan, so I'm gonna have to go with a vegan ice cream with coconut based. Get the caramel swirl, get the chocolate, get some sea salt in there. Like, I'm actually very hungry right now, I'm realizing.
As you speak. Okay, that's a good choice for me. I'm going to have to go with a mixture. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking about ice cream, but I think I'm going to have to go with a mixture. I think I would like, I guess, apple pie with vanilla ice cream on top, and maybe some caramel, some crunched up caramel.
I'm dead. That's so good.
Yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, I don't know why. Next.
We can go. Steph, do you want to go first?
Well, I always like birthday cake ice cream is always good to me. If not, also mango ice cream.
Oh, nice. Good choice.
I would have to second that too. Mango ice cream is usually very good. And when I'm kind of more towards the sweet side, I like the Neapolitan, a little bit of everything, vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate.
And I'm Charlene, and I like, I think my favorite is Jamocha Almond Fudge. But I like a lot of them, and yours all sounded really good.
We're just like a really hungry group of people.
Yeah, yours sounded good as well, Charlene.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Charlene and Rosa and Steph, for participating. That was nice to meet you.
Okay, so what is bullying? Bullying is defined as seeking harm, intimidation, or coercing someone. Similar words would be to persecute them, oppress them, or torment them. Bullying happens in many different forms. However, each form of bullying can do as much harm as the other.
So if you all had to guess one out of how many students get bullied in the year, what would that number be?
One out of every 10.
You think 1 out of 10, Kadeem?
4? 1 out of 4?
1 out of 4.
I think it's 1 out of 7.
Okay, so whoever gets this right gets ice cream. Just kidding. Don't have that.
Virtual.
So very
Oh,
close. We're actually
Charlene.
Rosa, Steph, and Charlene. So yeah, Charlene, you're the closest here. So sending a scoop towards you.
Thank you.
This is actually, you know, when you think about that, out of the people, you know, even on this call, that means that one of us would be experiencing bullying. You know, expand that on groups of people, or even a school or high school of 1,000 people, and you really start to see the implications of this and how common, unfortunately, this is.
Absolutely. We're going to move forward to the types of bullying, which are verbal, physical, which are verbal and physical.
Perfect. So the first type of bullying that we're going to cover is physical bullying, and it kind of has its form in the title there. It's anything that you're using your body for, and it's important to know the terminology so that you're able to communicate this with people and kind of understand maybe what has happened to you and process that, and also process for other people what has happened for them. So physical bullying would be anything that's using your body to cause intimidation of somebody else, and that can be punching, kicking, hitting, any type of physical assault. And one thing Karina and I were talking about before this was recently what we've been hearing about is people actually using COVID as a form of physical intimidation. So incidents of students taking their masks off when certain students walk by, or are in person with each other. That is a new form of physical bullying that we haven't seen before, or it probably existed, but now we're just hearing about it more. So that is one example.
Moving on to verbal bullying. Verbal bullying is when someone uses harmful language to gain power over their peers. Now, this can be demonstrated by calling someone names, making comments about someone's appearance, or talking negatively behind someone when they're not around, or behind someone's back. Now, within verbal bullying, we got to keep in mind the difference between conflict and verbal bullying. So a conflict can be had with someone, and it's not the same thing as verbal bullying. So a conflict, for example, see here, when people experience conflict, they often feel remorse. So that's something that we can take into consideration, and a conflict can turn into bullying when the respect for someone is lost. So it's always a conflict when you have respect for someone, and that is always there, and you guys both see eye to eye and can meet eye to eye and it can come to a conclusion. Now, when that respect is gone, that becomes harmful, either verbally or it can lead to physical. But so that's just what happens when the respect is lost. It becomes bullying at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the last form of bullying that we're talking about is cyberbullying. So this is something that happens over technology, emails, text, phone, anywhere where it's not in person, but you're still sending a message. And I don't think that anyone would be super surprised to know that this number of people reporting issues of cyberbullying has gone up since COVID, probably just because people are more cyber than usual, especially this age range. So some interesting statistics that we saw about the effects of cyberbullying is that it's definitely not just a kids being kids situation where there's no consequence or that there isn't a negative effect of it. That a lot of kids who experience cyberbullying, 41% developed social anxiety, 37% developed depression, and about a quarter of them engaged in self-harm, deleted their social media profiles, and had suicidal thoughts. So unfortunately, this form of bullying still has, even if it's not in person, even if they're not physically being hurt, it still can have a very negative consequence on young people.
Yep. And it's more prevalent now with the Zoom meetings and schools being all remotely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So.
Do you know what the percentage of those effects are when compared to physical and verbal bullying?
That is such a good question. Like if anxiety is maybe higher for cyber, but then skipping class is higher for physical or something like that.
Yeah, or if, yeah, how it compares.
Yeah.
Like, is it worse or the same or, yeah.
Awesome question. I honestly don't know the answer to that, but that's something that I want to look into because that's a great question.
I mean, it's still important no matter how the bullying happens, but just, yeah, kind of curious to know if it makes a difference. Yeah, cyber versus physical versus verbal.
Yeah.
I would imagine it does. As to what effect, I don't know. But I do believe that some of the, like anxiety, for example, when it comes to physical bullying, it might still be there pretty high, just because all these effects affect the brain kind of similarly when it comes to any kind of harmful to the body or mental well-being.
Hmm.
It seems like with cyberbullying, you just turn it off. Whereas physical, you can't really turn it off. But then again, maybe because it's, I don't know, we kind of get addicted to the computer. And so it is hard to turn it off.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm wondering.
and when thinking of turning something off, now kids still have that happened, the event that was bullying, either cyber or physical, and I think that affects kind of the same because the event kind of happened. Them turning off their social media or getting out of their social media altogether, I don't think that changes the fact that the event happened. I just think it makes them react differently. And that's something that we can definitely look into as to how to affect them after the fact or how to help after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Rosa, did you want to
Yeah,
add?
thank you.
Yeah, one thing I did notice, and like something I noticed in my age group, is that verbal bullying is probably the most like used, like against cyberbullying and physical.
Wow, that's really
Which grade are you?
Oh, I'm in 8th grade, so I'm saying like that amongst middle school.
Okay.
wow. And are you comfortable sharing like any like form of verbal bullying that you hear most often? Like, is it mostly about people's appearance, or is it like prejudice based, or is there anything that you think is
Yeah,
common?
so I think it's mostly behind their back.
Mm,
But it's a mix of all of everything, of like their appearance or anything, honestly, like their skills.
mhm.
Okay. So
Wow.
just anything that they can sticks out to them in a sense. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. That's awesome to hear that from your perspective. But when it comes to cyberbullying, and asking the question, where could you be getting bullied or where could your kid be getting bullied? Um, Out of curiosity, we were wondering, what platforms are you on or what platforms are your kids on that you know about social media wise?
Well, I'm on almost everything.
All the apps.
Okay. Now, for you, Rosa, are you on all the apps as well?
Oh. Just to add to that, except for Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you are on all the apps with her except for Facebook.
Well, which apps am I with her?
Yeah, like do you guys not share the same app but are
Oh, I see. Yes, I have her in all the apps as well.
okay. So you
Yeah,
do. Okay.
that's your mom, yeah.
That's good to know. Okay. Perfect. Because that's something
Oh,
that we definitely think it's important. Okay, you Charlene, sorry about
oh,
that.
so you have all the apps except Facebook, you said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, why not Facebook?
Well, Facebook is a little like out of what us teens use the most.
Okay, because your
We're-
parents are using it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because well, my children are all older. So my youngest is 25, and so he uses more variety, I think. So the younger, the more variety my kids use, and then yeah, as they get older, yeah,
Oh,
because he kind of grew up more with more, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, whatever you kind of grow up with.
mhm.
For example, for me, I had MySpace. That was my first social media app I believe I had. So,
So
and that's not even a thing. People don't even know about that. Stephanie, do you know what MySpace is? See?
So it feels like it's a real challenge, just all these different, things. I don't know. It seems to make it more challenging. I don't know if that's just, me old fashioned, but it, yeah, it seems complicated to have all these different options. But then again, maybe it's nice to have different options.
I believe having all these apps kind of gave way and gave cyberbullying a space, in a sense.
To
Uh,
happen.
yes.
Okay.
So I think there's a fine balance that we can all kind of get to when it comes to social media and technology.
One thing too is that some apps it's easier to cyberbully than others. Just thought I should share that.
Absolutely. Thank you. So moving forward with any social media app this child or your child is on could potentially be harmful. It is important to know that most social media has privacy settings for you and the parent to prevent cyberbullying. You can always report and block people that have negative intentions towards you or your well-being. So we thought that was important to know.
yeah. So another statistic here. If you all had to guess what percent of LGBTQ plus students reported getting bullied, cyberbullied specifically in recent years, what would be your estimate? And keeping in mind, this is the number that people report that they're being bullied, not the actual number of people, but just for people reported, which counts.
10%.
10%.
I'll keep it with the 10.
75.
75%.
That's our guess too, 75%.
Got it. Okay, so you all think it's pretty high up there then. This is what the report says, 30%. And Rosa and Steph and Charlene, I'm assuming, when our brain goes there and thinks, because I would have thought the same thing, that it's really high. That's based off of my personal experience and also just knowing the kind of world that we feel like we live in. But what is important to note from this study as well is that the number of LGBTQ students who report getting cyberbullied is actually 2 times higher than the number of heterosexual kids that report getting cyberbullied. So I think that probably is where your brains are coming from with thinking the number is higher, is because it actually is a higher rate for sure, double the amount of our straight peers. It just maybe isn't, 75%.
Do they have any idea how many don't report getting, and they find out through other ways other
Yeah,
than
the
reporting?
number does vary. So various studies that Kadeen and I were looking at, I think the highest number that we saw reported was 49%.
Yeah.
Right, like
It
about
was
half.
back in 2013.
Yeah, so it was from a minute ago, and it was a different survey, and different surveys have different methods. But it's definitely, if you look at that and then you corroborate that with statistics about how bullying can impact anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts, and then you compare that to the percentage, the number of LGBTQ people who experience anxiety, experience depression, and experience suicidal thoughts and tendencies, a real trend starts to happen. And there are then studies that show when instances of bullying go up or when it becomes more popular to bully people based off of their gender and sexual orientation, that suicide rates and depression and anxiety also go up. So there's definitely a lot of evidence out there that shows that correlation. But as far as getting the exact number, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, because you got to keep in mind that these are incidents that actually get reported through different methods and different ways. I mean, a lot of times things don't even get reported, don't even get to that part, don't even leave people's mouths, you know? They just kind of
Right.
go in the back of our heads.
So the actual getting bullied is probably higher than the reported, is what they're concluding, right?
Yes. Okay, so this question, why do you think bullying happens? Any thoughts? Off the top of my head, I believe people just want some sort of power, or to feel like they have power. So bullying, in the sense, is they could feel like they're gaining a quick sense of power, and they might like that.
You know, some people like drama, you know,
Okay.
so they, you know, that increases the drama in their life. And low self-esteem, right? And then that kind of turns into that control because they have low self-esteem, the
Yep.
person bullying.
Absolutely. Going back to that power, trying to gain power due to their low self-esteem.
How about y'all, Steph, Rose, do you have anything you want to add?
Okay, they might also be jealous of the other person.
Absolutely.
They could be trying to make everybody else look bad, so they look good. Kind of like they want to get the power.
Awesome. Yeah, those are great points.
You know, and then they're kind of raised, I think, like if their parents are kind of bullies, then they kind of think that's how you interact with people.
And that's okay, and they think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we kind of touched on all of these. So like to gain a sense of power, like we mentioned, to gain attention, like we said too, about getting popular. You actually mentioned these both, Stephanie. They're unhappy with themselves and take it out on others. They're being bullied themselves, getting things to get things they want, to copy someone else they admire. You know, like looking up to a sibling. If their sibling's a bully, they want to be just like their sibling. You know, that can also lead to that. They feel that another person is becoming more popular than they are in their group, and they just want to kind of take back that popularity from their friend, and they hope to use this way to make other people, or they hope to use it as a way to make other people become their friends. So I was thinking about that in the sense that people become mean towards someone else to, you know, just to get someone else's attention or to become friends with somebody else, but they don't know that it's kind of doing the opposite. They just look, I guess they could make jokes or something, but instead of becoming a friend, they become more of a, just like an acquaintance that just makes them laugh in a sense, instead of a real friendship that could become out of that. Prejudice against minority groups, it's really prevalent nowadays, and that's also why bullying happens, and it's one of the bigger reasons why bullying happens, as Donna and I found out earlier through some of the studies we read about.
Yeah, it's a perfect transition, actually. If you all had to guess, what % of students who reported being bullied at school indicated that the bullying was related to race and race-related bullying? What % would you all say that is?
We'll say maybe about 20%.
20-ish?
50?
50? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'd say around 50.
Halfway, right?
Oh,
I know these numbers are just coming from all over the place tonight, y'all. But again, with this study, you know, what they were pointing out, obviously this goes back to what Kareem was saying earlier, this is people who report, or this is coming from actual reports in school. I would definitely venture to say that this number is higher, but what also did stand out about this was when looking at the categories of people that are bullied, 30% was for physical appearance, and then the next highest category over sexual and gender orientation and the other personal identity categories that people are bullied for was race. So race is basically the second most common reason for people to be bullied.
What
Physical
percentage is appearance, did you say?
30%.
30. And part of that could also be, intertwined with race, because physical appearance is part of a race and looking different. So,
Yeah.
okay. So what are some signs that your child may be getting bullied? Any thoughts on that? Any signs that you may have encountered in the past or just have seen?
Well, they don't want to go to school.
That's a good one.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yes.
Maybe they're feeling sad or anxious.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense too. At school or whatever. What are some things? So these are some signs that you might be able to see within your children or child without actually having them tell you anything. So unexplainable injuries. If they have a hard time when you ask them anything, if they have a hard time explaining, or you obviously know your child best. So that can kind of have some sort of you have an idea of how your child's going to react. Lost and destroyed property, and they don't want to tell you about that. Feeling sick or frequent headaches and stomach aches. That's just possibly feeling illness or possibly faking illness, excuse me. That is something that I can relate to. I think that I used to just kind of fake some stuff sometimes just because I didn't want to be I didn't want to go to school and just didn't want to. Thankfully, it all changed around for me and we're here today. But yeah, I definitely can relate to that. So sudden changes of eating habits, being bullied in school, like we said, physical, is a big one. And difficulty sleeping, frequent nightmares. That's something that when kids go through any type of bullying, that can haunt them later on in their sleep, and just, have lack of sleep because of that. Declining grades, that's big because, kids are just not concentrating in their grades at that point. They're worried about other things going on around them that they can't control. Loss of interest in school, not wanting to go to school, and that sudden loss of friends and avoiding social situations. But all these, including self-destruction behavior such as running away, harming themselves, talking about suicide, decreasing self-esteem. I believe all these things are prevalent in both the person being affected and the person doing the effects. So for the bullies and the person being bullied, these are all kind of possibilities that they, feelings or things that they can all be going through. So that's just something to just be aware when dealing with these kinds of situations.
So a probable question on everyone's mind is, what do you do if your kid is the one, if you see some of these signs, or if you do hear about your child experiencing bullying in school? And my heart would definitely go out to, I'm personally not a parent, but I was a child, and I'm trying to imagine what that would be like to be the parent of that kid and to have to comfort and guide them through that. And that's a very difficult position to be in as a parent. But in thinking about your experiences and thinking about what it was like if you've ever been bullied, or if you've ever been wronged, or if somebody ever trespassed you in any type of way, thinking back on the kind of support that you wish that you had, or like thinking about the adult that you did confide in that did make a difference for you, that helped you and supported you, and thinking about how you can be that for your own child, and you can be that for any kid or any young person or any person who might be dealing with bullying is important. And I think, this is from some of what the professional responses for what are important for listening to somebody, is definitely letting them talk and letting them tell it to you in their words, and to not force it. And I think that would be an inclination as a parent to be like, come on, tell me what's going on. Like, I can tell something's up, and to kind of cry and to want to get those responses out. And I think that's natural and normal. Making sure that there's an environment where they can divulge to you, and to not feel judgment either back. So once you do listen to them, it's important to kind of find out where you can get them help, because ultimately, you are the adult in the situation. So if something is severe, going to talk to a teacher, going to talk to the principal, and we'll share some more resources about ways to do that at the end. And if the bullying is very extreme, then involving law enforcement is an option as well. And even changing schools or learning settings, those are the most severe situations. And hopefully what we try to do is prevent that from ever getting to that case. Do you all have any tips and experiences that you'd want to share about, what you think was effective ways to handle when your child was being bullied, or when you were bullied, how somebody helped you? No pressure if you don't want to share.
I think one of the biggest things right now is that parents are so busy, and spending a lot of time, quality time with kids, so that they can actually open up when they are in a conflicted situation. Because if kids don't spend time with their parents and they don't really have that open communication, I feel like that's really hard for kids to open up and ask for help. And then especially right now too with COVID, a lot of kids are doing virtual learning, so they're not even in school to talk to another adult who is trusted and able to help them. So I think the biggest thing for me has been spending time with my kids in terms of quality time and the attention.
And again, just to reiterate what you said, it's just to build the relationship with your child so that they are able to open up when they're willing to, correct, so on and so forth.
I think it's really important for parents to have a meal together with their kids. With all our different schedules, we don't do that, and we don't turn off TV. So we keep the TV on while we're eating, and that is one thing that I think my kids appreciate me for, is turning off the TV and, then eating and then talking. And even if, you didn't really talk about any big issues, it's an opportunity to, I think it helps to just have that meal, like say a blessing together for the meal, and then just, whatever comes up, not to drill or, ask a lot of questions, but just be there. So, we kind of quit doing that when they were busy with soccer and all their school activities. And I kind of regret not continuing it all the way through high school. At least, some sort of routine like that.
Oh man, it's so hard though. It makes a lot of sense why these things do slip by and why certain family traditions stop and life gets in the way. But it makes a lot of sense. But it's awesome that you did have that foundation with your kids, because even if it was just 1 year it was like that, even if it was just 1 month it was like that, that will definitely, it can have a huge impact on them.
Absolutely.
So we thought we would sort of go through some scenarios or some sort of role plays and keep going with this conversation, because it's so awesome to hear from you all and hear your experiences as well. So we thought we'd go through a couple different scenarios here. Number 1, your child comes home from school and has unexplainable injuries and damaged school supplies. Your child does not want to tell you what happened at school. You suspect your child is getting bullied. What are your next steps?
I would try to contact maybe the teacher, seeing if I can get some more information regarding the events.
I think maybe just giving them a chance to settle in, and maybe looking for that chance to, maybe ask something like, how was your day? Or see if I could get the conversation going.
Okay.
You know, in Smart Recovery for family and friends, we learned something called PIUS, PIUS communication or positive communication. And so say something positive is the P, then use an I statement like I noticed or I feel or, you know, as the parent, you know, you're stating it's you, what you notice, whatever, I and then express understanding, and then the S is sharing responsibility. The sharing responsibility is the hard one, but it does kind of give some sort of a formula that I think invites them to talk about it without pressure, I think. So,
Very cool. Thank you for that tool. That's awesome. Good
Yeah,
to have
thank you.
little.
you know, I can send you the, like, yeah, something that,
Yes.
if you have an email.
Yes,
Is it,
absolutely.
is it in the like whatever I got? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And Rosa too, I think has folks' emails or is able to communicate that out. But that's very cool. It's a very nice.
Okay.
Better to have more tools in the toolkit, right? That'd be great.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
On to the second scenario. While going through social media, you find a picture of your child. Comments on the picture all negative and hateful. Do you bring this to the teacher or to your child? Do you report the accounts? What are your guys' thoughts? Me personally, I do not have a child, but and if I do, and I do have nieces and nephews, but if I were to see this, I think I would do all three of these. I don't know, but that's just my mindset right now. I'm sure things will change, but yeah,
But that's a tough one, isn't it? I think. I don't know. It's so sad. And it's like, oh, do you bring it to their attention? I don't know. It's a tough one, I think. But maybe a little bit of all three and just notice.
We thought the same too, as Charlene. A little bit of all three. Definitely report the account, and if it is affecting the child or the teen, then maybe we can bring it up with the teacher and open the conversation.
These are tough. So thank you all for giving your opinions and your thoughts and just throwing things out there.
You know, what do you think? So who's with you, Rosa?
Oh, Steph right here. Yeah, Steph, what do you say?
Well, first I would definitely report the account for sure, but not block them yet because then you don't have the information like the username and stuff. But I would, if I do recognize like a child's friend or like a classmate, I would tell the teacher or the principal. I would call the school, and then tell my student last. I mean my child last at the end.
That's an awesome point you just brought up too that I think is super crucial stuff of like documenting and getting screenshots, getting pictures, evidence, whatever it is of what is happening. Because maybe you don't do anything with it at that moment. Maybe you don't talk to the principal right now, but you see the same username causing drama later on to another person, and you start to see that this is actually an issue of somebody who doesn't have consequences happening to them. And you're kind of able to point that out, that the bullying may turn into harassment, may turn into assault one day because there wasn't consequences when it was a very minuscule sort of incident. So I think that's really just smart that, you know, you're pointing that out, that pay attention to the receipts.
And thank you, Steph, because I'm thinking the teacher might have some insight, you know, that would give the parent some insight, maybe, before they, talk to their child. Or at least then the teacher would be aware and they can pay attention and then maybe give insight. So, yeah, thank you.
yeah, I think that getting as much and information out there as possible and saving all of it, is useful for both uh, the bully and the person being bullied. I mean, I think it's also being a bully is part of crying out for help, and it's help that they need and they don't have. So I think it's part of that, and it's a way to get them help too, because um, saving all these things are just something that um, I just saw something that we can all use and get help or help the situation with. Sorry.
And I like the thought that we're responding rather than reacting, right? So we're responding thoughtfully, kindly, um, wondering, rather than reacting, like reaching conclusions that may be wrong, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, these are good. These are tough. Good conversations.
Yeah, thank you, you guys. Yeah.
I enjoy it. Let's try another one here, if y'all don't mind. You recently found out that your child has been acting out at school. Your child has been hurting other children and making the school an unsafe space for others. What do you say to your child?
Well, I would definitely bring this to their attention because it's really bad. But I wouldn't want to bring it in a harmful or like an aggressive way. More in a calm way, but not something that's like, oh, it's okay, like that's not right. Um, yeah, and I would probably contact the school too and just say like, um, sorry for his behavior, and yeah, just like let them know.
Yeah, those are all great thoughts, and I think those are all useful ideas. Going on with that, I think that yeah, letting the school know that you're working on these things, that you're getting help, that you're searching for help, is all important. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
We're going on to another scenario here. Your child tells you that they witnessed another student being bullied at school today, but they didn't do anything about it. What would you tell your child?
So Charlene, you were saying like to kind of like ask them or what were they feeling when that happened and what was going on that day?
Yeah, kind of reflect or get them to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Going back to that PIS, I believe, is a good source and tool
Yeah, that's true.
to put yourself in the position where they can open up. That's a great tool.
That's great.
Okay.
But yeah, no, thank you all for running through those scenarios. It's just good to get ideas out there and process it because you never know when that moment's going to be real for you, you know? And I don't think it matters what age your kid is and what they've been going through, anything like they could be starting a new job or going off to school or whatever it might be. And call you and just be like, I don't know what's going on, I'm being picked on for this reason, whatever. So it's kind of good to hear other parents' ideas about how to do this and to kind of reflect about your own parenting skills. Um, but one thing that is helpful to know is that there are standards that I think all parents should be aware of, what standards their kid is kind of being held against and held up to at school. So in our districts in our area, D59 and D211, they both do have policies that have to go with like modeling positive behavior and being kind to other folks, promoting a positive learning environment. And so both schools, all of our schools really do. There are policies about protecting students based off of like their identities that could be targeted. So it's important to model that behavior for your kids, at least to be aware that this could be something if you find yourself saying a lot of negative comments about something in private and it's not something that you'd want your kid to say in school or against another student, keeping that in mind that you could be modeling that behavior for your child, or vice versa. You know, your kid is hearing something at school, they come home and they tell you about it, and you're like, well, you know, just brush it off, you know, that's just that kid, that's just that one issue. Actually, this is a school policy issue, and the school could benefit from hearing about it, and doing something about the culture. So one resource we wanted to share with you is this school safety concern link for D211 for the high schools. This is pretty simple way, and goes back to what Steph was sort of bringing up earlier, like the importance of documenting, or just taking screenshots, getting the receipts of things, in order to properly make a concern claim. So basically you just go on there, you put names. I think you might be able to do it anonymously, but you put your name, the incident, who was involved, stuff like that, and it actually gets sent to school admin for it to be addressed. So that's an easy way to just send something out there, make them aware of what happened in an incident.
These are some bullying resources that we also have here for verified information prevention tips. Here's a link, free bullying talk line for people ages 13 to 24. That's a 24/7 hotline as well. National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and the Trevor's Project LGBTQ plus Lifeline, and that is also 24/7. So yeah, these are great to know and great to just have in hand. You never know when you can use them, honestly.
And finally, we wanted to share another resource that we work on in our local community, the Teen Resource Guide. We also have an LGBTQ resource guide as well. And this is going to have local mental health clinics. It's going to have our where to call if you experience sexual assault. It's going to have job information, housing information, targeted for young people and teens. So this is good for parents to have. It's good for anyone to really have, anyone who might have contact with young people. So you can either scan that QR code with your phone or go to that link. And I believe what we'll do is we'll send these pages to Rosa, so Rosa can send them out to anyone who comes and make these available to people. Kenny and I wanted to ask if there was any questions with our remaining minutes here. Did anyone have any questions or takeaways or something that they hope that they can implement?
I think that definitely schools are getting more involved into doing something about bullying. And I feel like overall the whole community is working more towards addressing bullying and letting people know that it's not okay, and really, staying more positive in the schools. I think that's great, because in the past, when we were probably growing up, there wasn't that many resources, very, very little, call lines that we could call for help. So I think this information is really helpful.
Yeah, I think we grew up. We grew up in a time where bullying was just something that was just a surface. We were just touching on the surface at the time that I believe we grew up at, and we did not have enough knowledge about bullying and what the effects of it was, and now we are seeing the effects happen before our eyes, and we need to do something about it now. So I do think that maybe something that we can look into is maybe partnering with some of these schools and presenting some of these bullying topics to them. I think that's something that they might be interested in.
I think one question that kind of popped up in my mind was, kids are kids, and they react to things or situations differently, based on their experiences and their maturity and so many things, right, that they're going through. So what would be something that, maybe I should remind my kid that it's okay to be a kid, but at the same time being careful and being respectful? I guess, like, what is a tip that I should
Yeah. No, I really like that question, and it reminds me of this anecdote or the story that I heard about a teacher who was trying to deal with but really is help and guide that troubled student in the class. And in that situation, the teacher was finding that the student, gets really frustrated and would throw things and would push students and was pretty aggressive. And so what they ended up doing was, when they talked to the student about that, letting them know that what they were feeling was valid, that their anger was valid, that their frustration was real, and that it's okay to be annoyed, it's okay to be angry. And what you're trying to do when you feel those emotions is put it somewhere and put that rage into something. And so what this teacher was able to do was to kind of help channel that for that student. And it was baby steps. So what she told him was, next time you're so mad you want to throw something, take it out on something soft, and try to mitigate with that student. Take it out on something soft. Don't punch a wall. Don't throw something hard. Don't push a person. Find something soft. And so she said that she saw him in line. I think they were doing some sort of like Scholastic Bowl or some trivia or something. And some kid said something wrong that was on his team, and they lost a point. And the troubled kid was getting super upset about it, super angry. And he starts picking up a really heavy brick, like toy thing. He starts picking that up, and then he looks over at the teacher. He puts it down, and then he grabs a pillow and he just throws the pillow against the wall. And it was like, for that teacher, a small victory, right? To see how we start to learn how to mitigate our emotions and to channel it into something feasible. And I think what we try to do is to take those as baby steps, help them know that what they're feeling is okay and it's real and it's valid, but channel it in a way that doesn't harm people, that doesn't want to externalize that pain. I don't want to cause other people pain because I feel pain. I want to be seen and I want to be heard, and I don't want to cause harm to others. So I like that story because it's really cute.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
we are at that time. So everybody, thank you all so much for coming tonight. It was so good to meet you, Charlene and Steph and Rosa, having you today. We are at the Kenneth Young Center, so we will be definitely sending some information out, and let us know if you need any support.